Omar walked slowly through the busy office building, his cleaning cart squeaking slightly on the polished floor. The walls were lined with glass offices where programmers, designers, and managers typed quickly at their computers. Omar had worked at this company for 2 years, quietly keeping the floors clean and making sure every trash bin was empty. Most people hardly noticed him, but Omar noticed everything. He loved technology. Even though he was a janitor, he spent his free time learning about coding and algorithms. Every night at home, he practiced writing programs on his old laptop. Sometimes, he stayed up until the early morning hours, solving problems that many engineers found difficult. Omar believed that ideas mattered more than titles. On this particular morning, the office was especially busy. Employees moved quickly, talking on phones, typing rapidly, and carrying stacks of documents. Omar pushed his cart down the main hallway, stopping near the open office area. He paused for a moment to glance at the screens of some programmers. He recognized the programs they were working on because he had practiced similar tasks at home. A voice suddenly boomed from the glass office at the end of the hall. It was Mr. Harlan, the CEO of the company. He was a tall man with sharp features, known for his wealth, influence, and strict leadership. Harlan had a habit of watching employees closely, often commenting on mistakes or praising achievements. He noticed Omar looking at the screens and laughed loudly. "Hey, janitor. What are you doing?" Harlan called. His voice echoed across the office, drawing the attention of several employees. Omar froze for a moment but then walked over politely. "I was just curious, sir," he said quietly. "Curious?" Harlan raised his eyebrows. "Do you even know what coding is? Or are you just pretending to understand it?" He laughed, a harsh sound that made several employees smile nervously. Omar smiled politely. He did not feel embarrassed, even though Harlan had publicly mocked him. He had learned long ago that criticism from someone who did not understand him was not important. He nodded and replied softly, "I enjoy learning, sir." Harlan shook his head. "Learning? You're a janitor. You should be cleaning floors, not staring at screens like an engineer. Don't waste your time with that nonsense." Omar nodded again and pushed his cleaning cart away. As he moved down the hallway, he felt a spark of determination. He had heard people say before that a janitor should stay in his place, but Omar did not believe that titles could limit what someone could do. He had ideas that could change things, and he was determined to make them real. Later that day, Omar returned to his small corner in the office lounge. He had a quiet spot near a window where he could sit with his old laptop without disturbing anyone. He opened the laptop and began working on a new algorithm he had been developing for weeks. This algorithm could organize large amounts of data quickly and efficiently, something that even the company's top engineers struggled with. As he typed, Omar's mind was focused and calm. He did not think about Harlan's words or the laughter of employees. Instead, he concentrated on solving problems, testing different methods, and improving his algorithm. Hours passed, but Omar did not notice. His passion for coding made time disappear. By the end of the day, Omar leaned back in his chair and looked at his work. The algorithm was complete, and preliminary tests showed that it worked perfectly. It processed data faster than anything he had seen in his office. Omar smiled quietly. He knew that one day, this creation could make a difference. When it was time to leave, Omar packed his laptop carefully. He moved his cart through the empty hallways, thinking about what he had accomplished. He realized that Harlan's mocking had only given him motivation. Instead of discouraging him, it had reminded him that talent and creativity could come from anyone, anywhere. Outside, the city was busy with people hurrying to their jobs, cars moving along the streets, and birds flying above the tall buildings. Omar walked home slowly, enjoying the evening air. He thought about his plan for the next day, to continue refining his algorithm and testing new ideas. He believed that his work could one day surprise everyone, even the CEO who had laughed at him. At home, Omar sat at his small desk by the window. His laptop flickered with lines of code, each line representing a small step towards something greater. He smiled, feeling both proud and excited. He knew that being a janitor did not define him. What mattered was what he could create, what he could imagine, and how far he was willing to go to make his ideas real. Omar's journey was just beginning. The mocking words of a powerful man would not stop him. Instead, they became the spark for something much bigger. Omar believed that one day, the world would notice not the uniform he wore, but the genius in his mind. The next morning, Omar arrived at the office earlier than usual. The building was quiet, and the hum of the air conditioning was the only sound as he pushed his cleaning cart through the empty hallways. Most employees had not arrived yet, and the office felt like a blank canvas, waiting for someone to fill it with ideas. Omar parked his cart in a corner and took out his laptop. He opened the screen and stared at the lines of code he had written the night before. Each line was carefully written, every function tested in his mind before typing it. He had been developing an algorithm for months that could sort and organize massive amounts of data faster than any program in the office. He smiled quietly. Many engineers had tried similar projects, spending hours or even days trying to achieve efficiency. Omar's approach was simple yet powerful. He had combined different methods, experimented with small adjustments, and refined his logic until the system worked like a well-oiled machine. As he typed, Omar tested the algorithm with different sets of data. Rows and columns of numbers appeared on his screen. With a single command, the algorithm sorted the data perfectly, detecting patterns and organizing information in seconds. He leaned back and let out a quiet breath. The program worked exactly as he had imagined. Omar knew that if this algorithm reached the engineers, it could save them hours of work. But he also understood the challenge. He was just a janitor. Few people would take him seriously, and even if they did, the CEO might dismiss his work because of his position. Omar had faced mocking before, and he did not want to experience that again. He decided to work quietly. Every evening, after his cleaning duties, he returned to the corner of the office lounge and refined his algorithm. He tested it on larger sets of data, discovering new ways to make it faster. Each small improvement made him more confident. Omar began to imagine what would happen if the program was used in a real project. Companies could save time, and people could focus on creative work rather than tedious tasks. One afternoon, as Omar was working, a few employees passed by. They noticed him typing on his laptop but did not pay much attention. Omar did not mind. He had learned to focus on his goals, ignoring distractions. He knew that if he stayed consistent, his work would eventually speak for itself. Omar's dedication was not just about proving others wrong. He genuinely loved problem solving. Writing code made him feel alive. Each time a program ran successfully, he felt a small thrill of achievement. He thought about all the people who struggled with complex tasks and imagined how his algorithm could make their work easier. After several weeks of testing and refining, Omar realized that his program was ready for real use. He decided to try it on a larger data set, something similar to what the company engineers used in their daily tasks. He copied the data from a shared drive onto his laptop and ran the algorithm. Within moments, the program had organized the information completely. Omar smiled with quiet satisfaction. He knew that the results were impressive, even by professional standards. He could imagine the expressions on the engineers' faces when they saw how fast and accurate his program was. He also thought about Mr. Harlan and how he had laughed at him. Omar did not feel anger, instead, he felt calm determination. One day, Harlan would have to notice his work. The days passed, and Omar continued his secret project. He added features that made the program even more useful. It could detect errors, suggest improvements, and organize information according to specific rules. Every improvement made the algorithm more powerful. Omar worked with patience, knowing that great work took time. One evening, as Omar closed his laptop, he looked around the empty office. The lights reflected on the polished floor, and the hum of machines filled the silence. He felt a quiet pride in what he had created. No one had seen it yet, but he knew it was special. He had taken a simple idea and turned it into something extraordinary. Omar thought about the future. He imagined his algorithm being used not just in this company but in many places around the world. He imagined people recognizing his talent, not because of his uniform or his job title, but because of the value he had created. The thought made him smile. As he pushed his cleaning cart toward the exit, Omar felt a sense of purpose stronger than ever. He was no longer just a janitor in a big office. He was a creator, an inventor, a problem solver. And soon, the world would notice. It was a quiet morning when Omar arrived at the office, his cleaning cart squeaking softly across the polished floors. He had just finished tidying a conference room and moved into the lounge area where he kept his laptop. Omar had been refining his algorithm for weeks, testing it on small and large sets of data. Every improvement made it faster and more efficient. As he set his laptop down on the table, he accidentally left it open for a moment while he went to grab a fresh bottle of water. The screen displayed lines of code and a dataset running through Omar's algorithm. He did not notice, but a young programmer named Lila had walked in to get her morning coffee. Lila paused when she saw the laptop. She had noticed Omar working quietly before but never paid much attention. Today, curiosity drew her closer. On the screen, she saw the data organized perfectly, patterns highlighted, and errors corrected almost instantly. She blinked, stunned. "Wait a minute," she whispered to herself. "This looks perfect." Lila had spent hours struggling with similar datasets in her work. She knew how difficult it was to organize information so quickly and accurately. The fact that Omar, the janitor, had done this quietly in the corner of the lounge amazed her. She sat down for a moment, watching the algorithm complete its task. The program ran flawlessly, sorting thousands of rows of data in seconds. Lila could hardly believe her eyes. She leaned closer to examine the code. It was clean, organized, and easy to understand. Even someone with moderate coding knowledge could follow it. Lila realized that this was not just a small project. Omar had created something extraordinary. She knew that engineers at the company had spent days trying to achieve similar results. Yet here, the janitor had done it quietly, with no recognition or support. She decided to show a few colleagues. Lila called over her friend Malik, another programmer. "Look at this," she said, pointing to Omar's laptop. Malik leaned in and watched the algorithm process a new dataset. He whistled quietly. "This is amazing," Malik said. "Who wrote this?" "It's Omar," Lila replied softly. "The janitor. I think he has been working on this secretly." Malik's eyes widened. "A janitor? Are you serious?" "Yes. I didn't believe it at first either. But look at this code. It's perfect." Soon, more employees gathered around Omar's laptop, amazed by what they were seeing. They whispered to each other, sharing their excitement. Word spread quickly, and within an hour, several teams were discussing the janitor's algorithm. Meanwhile, Omar continued his work at another table, unaware of the small crowd that had gathered. He was focused, testing a new feature that allowed the algorithm to detect patterns in data automatically. He enjoyed solving problems quietly, without seeking attention. Recognition was not his goal, but the results spoke for themselves. A few hours later, Lila realized they had to tell someone important. She sent a brief email to the department head, explaining that Omar had created an algorithm that could improve data management significantly. She attached screenshots and results from the tests. The department head, Mr. Reynolds, was intrigued. He scheduled a meeting to see the algorithm in action. When Omar was invited to demonstrate it, he felt calm. He had tested the program extensively, and he knew it would work perfectly. During the meeting, Omar showed how the algorithm could organize thousands of rows of data in seconds, detect errors, and suggest corrections. Everyone watched in amazement. Engineers nodded, impressed by the simplicity and power of the code. Even Mr. Reynolds, who had been skeptical, could not hide his surprise. "This is remarkable," Mr. Reynolds said. "Who developed this?" Omar replied quietly, "I did, sir. I have been working on it for a few months." The room was silent for a moment. Many employees exchanged glances, realizing they had underestimated Omar. He was just a janitor, but he had created something that could save hours of work and improve efficiency across the company. By the end of the day, the story had spread to several departments. People were talking about Omar and his algorithm. Some laughed in disbelief that a janitor could create such a powerful program. Others admired his talent and dedication. Omar returned to his corner with his laptop, feeling a mixture of pride and calm. He had never sought attention, but now his work was being noticed. He realized that sometimes, recognition came by accident, but the important thing was to keep creating, keep improving, and keep believing in one's abilities. Outside the window, the sun began to set, casting golden light across the office floors. Omar watched quietly as employees discussed the algorithm, unaware that the janitor who cleaned their floors had quietly changed the way they worked forever. The next morning, the office was buzzing with curiosity. Employees whispered about Omar's algorithm as they sipped coffee and arranged their schedules. Many had seen the program in action, and the news had reached Mr. Harlan, the CEO. He was known for his sharp mind and quick judgment, but he also had a prideful streak. He did not like being surprised, especially not by someone in a position he considered lowly. Harlan called Omar to his office. The janitor walked slowly down the hall, pushing his cleaning cart. His heart beat calmly, but inside, he felt a quiet determination. He had spent months perfecting his algorithm, and now it was time to show that his work was valuable. "Come in," Harlan said, leaning back in his leather chair. His sharp eyes studied Omar as he entered. "I hear you have made some sort of program. Let's see what this is about." Omar nodded politely. He opened his laptop on Harlan's large desk and began explaining the algorithm. He described how it could sort and organize large amounts of data quickly, detect errors, and suggest improvements automatically. His voice was calm, and his words were clear. He did not boast, he simply explained what the program could do. Harlan raised an eyebrow. "I am curious to see if it really works." "Show me." Omar typed a few commands, and the program ran. Numbers and data moved across the screen at an astonishing speed. The employees who had gathered to watch were amazed. Rows and columns that would normally take hours to sort were perfectly organized in seconds. Errors were highlighted and corrected, and patterns appeared clearly. Harlan leaned forward, studying the results. He could not deny the efficiency of the program. This is impressive," he said, trying to hide his surprise. "But can it really handle complex data? Something more challenging?" Omar nodded and ran the algorithm on a much larger data set. The program performed flawlessly. Harlan's expression changed from skepticism to genuine astonishment. The speed and accuracy of the algorithm were unlike anything he had seen before. Engineers in the room whispered to each other, realizing that a janitor had created something they had only dreamed of achieving. "Interesting," Harlan said slowly. "You claim this is your work?" "Yes, sir," Omar replied calmly. "I have been working on it quietly for months. I tested it in different scenarios to make sure it works in real situations. Harlan leaned back in his chair, tapping his fingers on the desk. He could feel his pride struggling with his curiosity. He had mocked Omar before, calling his interest in coding nonsense, but now the results were undeniable. The janitor had not only created a working algorithm, he had created one that outperformed much of the work done by the engineers. "You are a janitor," Harlan said finally, his tone serious. "I have always believed in proper roles and titles. How did you, of all people, create something so advanced?" Omar smiled politely. "Titles do not define skill, sir. What matters is dedication, creativity, and persistence. I love solving problems and improving processes. That is what led me to this program." Harlan studied him for a long moment. He realized that Omar's confidence was genuine, and his explanation made sense. He could not ignore the results on the screen. The algorithm was exceptional, and Omar's determination had brought it to life. "Very well," Harlan said finally. "You have proven that talent can come from anywhere. But can your program really be useful for the company? Can it handle projects across different departments?" Omar nodded again. "Yes, sir. I have tested it in various scenarios. It can adapt to different types of data and processes. It can improve efficiency in multiple areas, saving time and reducing errors." Harlan paused, then smiled slightly. "You have turned a simple idea into something extraordinary. I admit, I underestimated you. It is time for the company to see the value of your work." The employees in the room smiled quietly. They had witnessed Omar's calm confidence and his program's efficiency. Many felt inspired by his dedication and determination. They realized that anyone, regardless of their position, could contribute something remarkable if they worked hard and stayed focused. Omar closed his laptop carefully. He did not boast or demand recognition. He simply hoped that his work would be used to help others and improve the company's processes. He understood that recognition was important, but what mattered most was the value he had created. Harlan stood and extended his hand. "Omar, you have earned my respect. I want you to continue developing this program. We will give you the resources you need to make it even better." Omar shook Harlan's hand politely. Inside, he felt a quiet sense of pride. He had faced skepticism, mockery, and doubt, but his work had spoken for itself. His algorithm was not just a program, it was proof that creativity, persistence, and passion could overcome any obstacle. As Omar left the office, employees whispered excitedly. The janitor who had been underestimated by the CEO had proven himself. He had turned a quiet idea into something extraordinary, and the company would never view him the same way again. Omar pushed his cart down the hallway, thinking about the future. This was only the beginning. He knew there were more problems to solve, more improvements to make, and more ways to help people with his talent. He felt motivated, focused, and ready for the next challenge. After Harlan's unexpected approval, Omar continued working quietly on his algorithm. He spent hours refining its efficiency, testing new features, and improving the interface. While he worked, Lila, the young programmer who had first noticed the algorithm, could not stop thinking about how incredible it was. She had seen Omar's dedication and knew that the world should see his work. One afternoon, she decided to share a version of the algorithm online. She wrote a careful post on a coding forum, explaining the capabilities of Omar's program and showing how it could process data faster than other existing solutions. Lila made sure to give credit to Omar, mentioning that he was a janitor who had created the algorithm quietly over months. Within hours, the post began to spread. Coders, programmers, and tech enthusiasts from around the world were amazed. Many tried the algorithm themselves, testing it with their own data. Every test confirmed what Lila had said: Omar's program was fast, efficient, and easy to use. People praised the simplicity and elegance of the code. News of the algorithm spread to social media. Bloggers, tech magazines, and online communities began writing about it. They called it the Janitor algorithm and celebrated Omar as a hidden genius. Some articles highlighted the story of a janitor who, despite his job, had created something that could change the way people worked with data. Omar remained focused on his work at the office. He was unaware of the growing attention outside. When Lila told him about the online reaction, he was surprised but calm. He had not expected such recognition, and he did not seek it. What mattered most to him was that his algorithm could help people solve problems efficiently. The company soon noticed the effect of the viral post. Emails, messages, and inquiries started pouring in from different organizations. Companies wanted to learn more about the algorithm and see how it could improve their own processes. Engineers from other tech firms requested meetings to discuss the program and its applications. Even within the office, Omar became a topic of admiration. Employees who had once ignored him now approached him for advice and guidance. They were amazed that someone who cleaned floors had created something so powerful and useful. Many felt inspired, realizing that talent and creativity could come from anyone, anywhere, regardless of their role. Mr. Harlan, the CEO, watched the news and read several online articles about Omar. He could not deny the impact of the program or the attention it had gained. For the first time, he felt both surprise and admiration. He realized that he had been wrong to mock Omar earlier. The janitor's work was exceptional, and it had now captured the attention of the world. Harlan called a meeting with the company's leadership. "We have underestimated talent in our own building," he said. "Omar's algorithm is being recognized globally, and it shows that innovation can come from unexpected places. We must support him and encourage more of this kind of creativity." The employees applauded quietly, proud of their colleague. Omar remained humble. He thanked them for their support but emphasized that the success of the algorithm was not about recognition. It was about improving efficiency, helping people work smarter, and demonstrating that dedication could overcome obstacles. As the days passed, Omar began receiving invitations to speak at conferences and workshops. Organizations offered resources and collaboration opportunities. But Omar remained thoughtful. He carefully considered each opportunity, wanting to make sure that his work remained useful and true to his vision. Lila continued to support Omar, helping manage communications and sharing updates about the algorithm with the growing community of users. Together, they created tutorials, examples, and guides to make it easier for others to use the program effectively. The story of Omar, the janitor, became an example of perseverance, creativity, and quiet dedication. People were inspired by how someone who worked behind the scenes could make a remarkable contribution. Discussions about talent and opportunity changed within the office and beyond. Many realized that positions and titles were not limits, they were simply labels, and real skill came from passion, hard work, and determination. One evening, Omar looked out of the office window as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. He reflected on the journey that had brought him here. From being mocked by the CEO to being recognized globally, he had learned that persistence and belief in one's abilities could overcome doubt and skepticism. He smiled quietly. The journey was not over. There were more problems to solve, more ideas to test, and more ways to help people. But for now, Omar allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. His work was being recognized, it was helping others, and it was proof that talent and dedication could change the world. The janitor who had once been overlooked had become an inspiration, showing that anyone, no matter their role, could create something extraordinary and make a difference in the world. The office was unusually quiet that morning. Employees moved about with a sense of excitement, whispering in corners and smiling at each other. Everyone knew that something big was about to happen. The CEO, Mr. Harlan, had called for a company-wide meeting to discuss Omar's algorithm and its growing impact. Omar pushed his cleaning cart to the lounge as usual, but today he carried his laptop carefully. He had been invited to present his work in front of the entire company. Though he felt calm, there was a quiet energy inside him. He had worked for months on this program, and now the moment had arrived for everyone to see it in action. The employees gathered in the main conference hall, talking softly among themselves. Some whispered about Omar's journey from janitor to recognized innovator. Others were curious about the program that had gone viral online. The air was filled with anticipation as Harlan stepped to the front. "I want to start by saying something important," Harlan began, his voice steady. "We have always believed in talent and skill. Today, we are witnessing a remarkable example of how talent can come from anywhere. Omar, please come forward and demonstrate your algorithm." Omar approached the stage quietly, placing his laptop on the podium. He smiled politely at the crowd and began explaining his program. He spoke simply and clearly, showing how the algorithm could organize large amounts of data, detect errors, and suggest improvements automatically. He emphasized efficiency and accuracy, making it easy for everyone to understand. The employees listened closely, watching the demonstration on the large screen. When Omar ran the algorithm, rows and columns of data were sorted instantly, and patterns appeared clearly. Engineers who had struggled with similar tasks nodded in surprise, realizing how powerful Omar's work was. "This is extraordinary," Harlan said, leaning forward. "Omar has proven that creativity, dedication, and hard work are more important than position or title. I underestimated him, and I am proud to admit that. His work is changing the way we approach problems in this company." The room erupted in applause. Employees cheered for Omar, who remained humble. He nodded politely and thanked them, emphasizing that the success of the algorithm was a team effort in spirit, even if he had worked on it quietly. Harlan continued, "We want to give Omar the official recognition he deserves. Effective immediately, he will hold the position of lead algorithm designer. He will have access to resources, support, and opportunities to expand his work across all departments. Omar, your talent and persistence are an example for all of us." Omar felt a warm sense of pride, but he remained calm. Titles and recognition were not what he had sought, but he appreciated the opportunity to contribute more meaningfully. His focus was still on solving problems and creating solutions that could help the company and its employees. After the meeting, employees approached Omar with congratulations. Some asked questions about the algorithm, eager to learn and improve their own understanding. Others simply smiled and expressed admiration for his dedication. Omar answered politely, sharing insights without boasting, encouraging others to explore their own ideas and talents. In the days that followed, Omar's life at the office changed. He had a proper workspace now, with access to advanced computers and software. Engineers who had once ignored him now sought his advice and collaboration. Meetings included him as a key contributor, and his ideas influenced major projects. Despite the attention, Omar remained grounded. He continued to push his cleaning cart through the office each morning, greeting colleagues with a smile. The act of cleaning reminded him of the journey he had taken and the effort it had required to be noticed. He understood that recognition was important, but humility and persistence were equally valuable. Lila remained a close friend and supporter, helping him manage communications about his work and its growing impact. Together, they explored new applications for the algorithm, testing it in different areas of the company. Each improvement made the program more versatile and valuable. Harlan, the CEO, observed Omar's progress with growing respect. He realized that innovation could come from any corner of the company, and he encouraged other employees to think creatively and pursue their ideas. The culture of the company began to shift, valuing talent, dedication, and innovation above rank or title. One evening, Omar sat at his desk after the office had emptied. He reflected on how far he had come. From being mocked by the CEO to being recognized globally, he had learned that persistence, focus, and a love for problem solving could overcome doubt and skepticism. He smiled quietly, feeling proud but determined to continue working. The journey was not over. There were still problems to solve, improvements to make, and opportunities to help others. Omar knew that his work could inspire people both inside and outside the company. His story was proof that anyone, no matter their role, could create something extraordinary if they believed in themselves and stayed dedicated. As the sun set outside the office window, Omar looked at his laptop. The glowing screen reflected his determination and vision. He felt ready for the challenges ahead, knowing that recognition had given him the opportunity to do even more. The janitor who had once been overlooked had now become a symbol of creativity, persistence, and inspiration for everyone.